WISC TV now presents For the Record. A look ahead at the news of the new year and one last look back at the old. That's next on For the Record. Good morning, I'm Neil Heinen. Reflection is important, so is anticipation. The former, we would hope, gives us perspective and knowledge. The latter gives us hope. Each year is defined in part by its challenges and opportunities, and today I've asked some folks who think about these things to share with us their perspective on the stories of 2018 and the news to come in 2019. I welcome to For the Record Capital City Hughes publisher and editor John Gramling, La Movida radio talk show host Lupita Montoto, and the editorial page editor of the Wisconsin State Journal, Scott Milfred. Happy New Year, friends and colleagues.
To you as well.
Thanks for doing this. So, I mean, this is, it's kind of an annual tradition to do this sort of thing, but I think it's nice to look back a little bit and anticipate the year coming up. We end the year with, as always, historic elections, and we'll talk about that a little bit. But just, Scott, just start with you. I always look back at all the editorials I wrote over the course of a year as a little bit of a guideline, but just in terms of 2018, from your perspective, what kind of pops to mind is important?
I thought one thing that we've written about for years, but really expanded this year and how we think about it is water quality.
Yeah.
I mean, for years we've been doing editorials about we need to protect our lakes. Our lakes are symbolically and economically important for Madison. But then that flooding hit this year.
Yeah.
And what really struck me was we had an image of a map of the isthmus in the paper. It was by UW, and it showed that if we got that downpour that Lake Delton got, do you remember when that happened?
Sure.
The lake washed away, homes washed away. If we got that, according to UW, pretty much all of the isthmus would flood. And I remember seeing that map, and I thought, oh, come on, really? 2 weeks later, we didn't get as much water as Lake Delton got. We didn't get as big of a downpour, but there was huge flooding, and I think people said, wow, this is a big issue. And people started talking about climate change in a more direct way, and our water drainage system downtown was backed up for weeks. It couldn't drain.
Right.
People started talking about, what about the lake levels? Do we need to go back to a lower lake level the way it was naturally started? And then you have just this past week, there was a report in southwest Wisconsin that 42% of the wells down there that they tested, and they tested hundreds of wells, are polluted.
Yeah.
You've got people in central northern Wisconsin, their lakes the levels are going down because of high capacity wells. You've got farm pollution up by Door County and Green Bay area that's polluting. So I think water quality, health, climate change, flooding, that's been a big one this year.
We've all lived in Madison a long time. When have we ever thought that the biggest issue we face would be the potential devastation of a flooded isthmus? And now it seems so real.
It is real. And I mean, and part of that talk then is what does development do downtown in terms of the number of large structures? Because we all, I think, want infill. Infill is very important for the future vitality of the city. But how does that impact the isthmus in terms of the whole water issue, traffic, and a lot of other things as well, that Madison is really at a turning point in terms of how it envisions its future and which directions it goes.
And I think we're going to talk about this as this story evolves, but agricultural issues, septic issues are part of the water quality thing, but a lot of the stuff that we put into our bodies and the chemicals that have become part of life are finding their way into the water supply. And I think that is something we're going to have to deal with down the road.
Well, part of it might be just how just to put it politely, how the DNR has been reshaped over the last 8-9 years, that there's been less regulation.
They neglected to participate in a study of that.
And they changed the structure of the DNR in terms of how the appointments get made and everything else. And so I think that's had an impact, and it's something that we'll be experiencing for decades to come.
Yeah. And we're growing. We are a fast-growing region here, and the more cement, roofs, sidewalks you get, the faster that water rolls into the lake.
And into the economy as well. I mean, it will be affected or reflected into the economy and the business.
A story that pops for you, Lupita, in 2018?
A couple, I guess. Maybe number one was the ice presence.
Yes.
in the city. I mean, several families, Latino families, were affected because of the situation. It was a real chaos in the
It
community.
seemed like Madison-Dade County was targeted, didn't it, by ICE? I mean,
Definitely.
specifically, yeah.
That was specifically. I mean, they do this kind of raids or operations, but it was kind of the first time there was a high number in the Dane County. But as a community, I guess in local police enforcement and the mayor and stuff like that was kind of a learning experience. It was a challenge for all of us because all the trust that has been built between the local officials and the Latino community kind of was a little affected. In a very sweet situation because as a community we weren't ready or prepared for the type of visit from ICE, but we come along together and we were united in helping families and supporting in regards of dealing with stress, fear, and
all of which already existed because of the immigration issues around the country that were going on.
Exactly. So it was kind of chaotic moments or couple of months for the Latino community, but we overcome. And like I said, I mean, it was a learning experience as a organizations and entities that works and supports the Latino community, and we become as a united, and we are kind of learning a little bit, you know, how to manage the situation in the future. Hopefully it won't come again, but who knows?
Well, maybe the next election. Now, I'm just getting more cynical at my old age. I don't know why that is. But, so there was 82 people, I think, were picked up statewide. So it was a statewide sweep, not just Dane County.
Right.
It happened just around an election period in which the Republican Party was emphasizing immigration and that whole fear-mongering. And so all this happens at the same time. Maybe it's just coincidence. Maybe it's not. Who knows?
One quick anecdote. I have a kid that goes to Senate Middle School, which is right next to La Follette. And there was a day where there was a gun incident outside of the school, a few blocks away from La Follette. The police, of course, came to the school, surrounded the school. If I was in the school, my first thought would be, oh, is this going to be a school shooting? Is that why they're here? My kid at Senate Middle School, and granted there's a lot of Latino students there because it's a Nuestro Mundo tract, they thought it was ICE. They were worried that ICE was coming to the school. They weren't thinking of a school shooting, and that really struck me as, wow, that's different.
It's something that happens because of social media. So people were kind of policing and were spreading all over and saying, you know, we saw a nice truck in the west side. No, now they are on the east side. So everybody was like scared and looking for it. It was you know, I feel so bad and so sad about the kids because they really don't understand. They are USA citizens. They were born here, so they have rights. But because they see their parents suffering and struggling with the situation, it was kind of a little sad as well, seeing the kids do not know how to deal with the situation.
Let me take the first commercial break here.
Okay.
When we come back, we will continue our conversation of 2018 right after this.
For the Record, sponsored by MG&E, your community energy company.
It's the New Year Super Sale at Denver Mattress, where the more you buy, the more you save. Save $100 for every $1,000 you spend. Or check out the quality and comfort of the Factory Direct Summit Queen, only $189.99. Hurry! The New Year Super Sale at Denver Mattress ends soon.
Quit throwing money away. Save money instead. Switch to US Cellular and get the latest phones for free. You heard that right. Get the latest phones for free when you switch with no trade-in required. Plus, save even more with Unlimited with Payback, the only unlimited plan that pays you back for data you don't use. Only from US Cellular. It's time to stop wasting money.
Hello, folks. I'm Rosalie Michaels, and I'm here with former Dallas Cowboys quarterback Danny White, and we're talking about home safety. Thanks so much for coming in, Danny.
Thanks for inviting me.
I heard that you've been working to come up with an offer to help people protect their homes. Is that right?
That's right. Our mission is to ensure that everyone receives the protection that they need. So we're offering a brand new home security system $850 value, free of charge.
And it's kind of hard to beat free. So tell us about monitoring.
Well, you get 24/7 monitoring for burglar, fire, and medical emergencies from ADT, the #1 home security company in America. And monitoring is about $1 a day. There's no better investment you can make for the things that matter most. The first 20 callers to order will receive a $100 Visa gift card plus 2 wireless keychain remotes free of charge. So call now and we'll help you protect your home.
To get this special offer, call 855-549-1430. That's 855-549-1430.
It's the New Year Super Sale at Denver Mattress, where the more you buy, the more you save. Save $100 for every $1,000 you spend. Or check out the quality and comfort of the Factory Direct Summit Queen. Only $189.99. Hurry! The New Year Super Sale at Denver Mattress ends soon.
We're back, taking a look back at 2018, a look ahead to 2019 with John Gramling, who is the publisher and editor of Capital City Hughes, Lupita Montoto, who is a talk radio host at La Movida Radio, and Scott Milfred, who's the editorial page editor of the Wisconsin State Journal. A couple other things that really popped to mind. We were talking about schools, and unfortunately, just a nod to the continued crisis of gun violence in our country. We had some horrific incidents in 2018. It seems now that that's an annual event. And I have seen no change in any sort of, no suggestion that we're ready to do anything about the problem. We just keep offering up hope and prayers, and that's... It's part of the reality here. In Madison, there was kind of an ebb and flow. It seemed like there was a little rash of gun violence again. Then Madison police got their hands on it a little bit.
The schools have better security than they did just a couple years ago.
Right.
If you go to the doors, it used to be kind of a joke.
Yeah.
You could get in and there was no problem, and now it's much more secure. So I think there's been a security element. I'm thinking they're doing a lot more with staff and students to prepare for it. And for example, they're going to have the classroom doors that automatically lock. But in terms of doing anything about guns, especially in Wisconsin, it's almost like we're going the other direction, where we're allowing more guns and wider use of guns rather than trying to get a handle on it.
The guns have more rights than I have. I mean, that's just the way I feel in terms of my life. It might not be as important as someone's right to shoot an AK-47 or whatever. And it's like, rights are never exclusive. Rights always kind of come in contact with each other. Sometimes they conflict with each other. That's just the way it is in our society. And so we have to just decide what's more important, life or the ability to go to a target range and shoot an AK-47.
Let's talk about schools a little bit. All three of you think and write about schools a lot. And in addition to a pretty robust discussion about officers in schools, which I thought, raised a lot of interesting issues. We still have this ongoing conversation about achievement and the significant gaps that remain, and a very energized school board election coming up in the spring. Talk about some of the things that you were thinking about schools over the year, John.
Well, I mean, I get so divided over the presence of police in the schools because on the one hand, so what kind of judgments are we making about kids, and especially with the number of students of color who get suspended and end up being in trouble, and to what extent do policies end up allowing teachers and other professionals not to deal with kids of color who might have just be coming from a different educational basis. But then you always know that there are some kids who are just hard and they've lost hope in themselves, and so to what level do you allow disruption of our schools? So again, it's not an easy question to answer because there's just so many different layers to it.
We had a show last month, well, actually a couple of times, with Chief Coble and District Attorney Hussein. And both topics came on the show, and the feedback was positive. And the Latino community is ready to have a police presence mostly in the high schools because of the situation. I mean, parents were showing concern because what's going on and what's happening, across the country. But they say that the same way, I prefer to have a secure schools and have a police presence than none, because who knows at this time. So it was like a 97% probably of the callers were positive of how, about having police presence.
School security is just one element of the energy around the school board races coming up this year, Scott. But there are a lot of elements to it that would suggest this is going to be a pretty vital topic in 19.
I think
our schools.
Definitely. Right. And I think you have to give the school district some credit that they have been, for 2 decades, we've been talking about the achievement gap between white students and students of color. That has been slowly coming up. I mean, they have, it was several years ago when it was less than half of the black students were graduating. Right. Maybe that was black boys, but I remember that was a startling statistic. It was worse than Milwaukee. It was worse than any school district. Now, okay, that's getting up towards 60. That's still not good, but it's progress. And I think they're doing a lot more around the alternative high schools to try to help some of these students achieve more. But yeah, you're getting where I think we're going to have police in schools because so many parents are worried about this school shooting thing. But then the question is, do you keep students who are misbehaving in the schools because they're much more likely to graduate if you do? Or do you take them out because it's deterring the education of the others, and that's going to be a big issue in the school board race.
And there's two new developments we're going to see in 2019. Madison College is going to open right across the street from Central Hispano, and I think that's a really important element there. And it looks like one city is going to expand, and I think more people are going to look at that model of early childhood education and now into some of the other grades as a new addition and maybe innovation in education in this district.
It's going to be great. Since the new Madison College building on Park Street is awesome, and I guess it creates more opportunities for students and it's more accessible now going to college and encouraging our kids to graduate from high school. Like 1 out of 5 students in the Madison School District are Latinos, and the biggest population between Madison and Fitchburg has been showing that Latinos really wanted to go to school, really wanted to graduate from high school or going to college.
And I look upon this as part of a bigger picture. So in the last year or two, I've seen more community investment within communities of color, organizations of color, where Nehemiah got that $1 million grant to work on health disparities. The Foundation for Black Women Wellness got significant grants in the past year. The Urban League has that employment training center on the southwest side near Elver Park now. Centro Hispano's gotten some big grants. So overall, you see more investment in the communities of color, with Madison College South. So I think the community is really trying to grapple with this outside of a crisis happens. We'll give 100,000 here, 100,000 there. We're dealing with the crisis. Let's move on to the next thing. It's becoming kind of more central to the future of the Madison area and what the Madison area is going to look like.
And Kaleem Care got grants from DPI, the leader of which is now going to be our governor. And that's a charter school that's outside the scope of the school district. It'll be interesting to see if he can build some success from the bottom up, given that his previous proposal for a high school was shot down, and now he's running for school board.
Right.
The same with the Latino Academy and Latino Chamber of Commerce as well. They got some grants from county executives, so that's.
Speaking of the new governor, we'll talk about him when we come back on For the Record right after this.
For well over a decade, WISC TV3 and Channel 3000 have paid tribute to top-notch teachers nominated by our viewers. Every month, we spotlight and salute an area teacher, and we want to hear about your favorite. If you know a teacher who deserves to be recognized as a top-notch teacher, send us a letter, an email, or nominate a teacher at channel3000.com.
Top-notch teachers, sponsored by Lazy Boy Furniture Galleries and by Concordia University.
Welcome to Mitsubishi. Interested in a test drive?
Introducing the 2019 Mitsubishi Eclipse Cross. If you like sculpted lines, you'll love its dynamic design. With a 10-year, 100,000-mile powertrain limited warranty, the Eclipse Cross is a must-see. Now showing at a dealership near you.
That was crazy. What? Only at Mad City can you get a 30-year, 300,000-mile warranty, and we're getting approvals with just $5 down, or get $4,016 minimum trade value. It's our Snow Blows event.
Drive your ambition. Mitsubishi Motors.
Hello, I'm Gary Canolti, inviting WISC TV viewers to join me on a Canadian Rockies train adventure, July 22nd through the 31st. Explore Calgary, dine atop the Calgary Tower, and experience breathtaking views in Banff before our exciting train journey to Vancouver aboard Via Rail's Canadian. We'll also visit historic Victoria and view the Parliament Building and beautiful Inner Harbor. All airfare, great hotels, and more included. For more information, call Holiday Vacations at 1-800-826-2266.
I'm from out east, but I found a home right here. Southern Wisconsin has grown on me in ways I never imagined. Telling stories, meeting new and amazing people. I've been on the scene of tragedy and miracles, and I am grateful to be able to share my experiences with our viewers. First thing in the morning. Now I'm right at home here in Wisconsin. Pretty cool if you ask me. I'm Danica Lewis. Thanks for watching News 3 this morning.
I am back with John Gramling, Lupita Montoto, and Scott Milfred, and we're about to look ahead to 2019. I don't know if surprise is the right word about election results, Scott, but I don't know that any of us could have anticipated the confluence of Democrats taking the House, Tony Evers being elected governor, and then on down the line. Pretty interesting results.
I think a lot of it had to do with the left being energized because of Donald Trump in the White House being a very controversial figure, and even a lot of Republicans not happy with Donald Trump. So I think that was a bigger factor than probably even the other issues, which were important, whether it was health care or Foxconn or schools. But you had sort of the anti-Trump in Tony Evers, the Democratic governor candidate elected. I mean, you couldn't find a more mild-mannered, boring in a way, person, but a very reasonable person, a very thoughtful person, experienced person people liked. And looking forward into the new year, I mean, I'm excited by divided government. I like divided government. I'd rather have divided government than having one party rule or the other. I mean, we've had virtually 8 years of Republicans ruling everything, and I think they went too far on a lot of things. And, you know, the knock on divided government is, oh, it's gridlock. You can't get anything done. But I don't look at it that way. I mean, that's true to some degree, but I look at it as, with divided government and gridlock, the benefit is it forces compromise. And when you get compromise between the two parties, you can get lasting change that's usually pragmatic. If just one party shoves something through, the other party is forever going to be trying to undermine it. And I think Evers is, so far from what I know of his picks for his cabinet, there tend to be some more moderate people, and he's talking a good game about common ground. The Assembly Speaker is being a little more aggressive, and I think testing him, but I'm hoping they can do some things quickly out of the gate, whether it's road funding or water regulation, and then they're going to have the big budget, and the budget's coming up this year, and that, you know, some people get bored by the budget. Well, that's where more state decisions are made than anywhere else. So that's going to be huge.
I mean, is Tony going to be Wisconsin's President Obama in the last couple, 2, 3, 4 years of his administration, where he basically had to tack with DACA and with other things and executive orders, stuff like that, because the Republican Congress was not going to give him any kind of leeway or support, and almost do things to spite their face. So it'd be interesting to see how that negotiation goes on. I mean, I feel like they overstepped and now took on some executive powers, the legislature, and I feel like that's going to be ruled unconstitutional once it goes to the courts in the next 8 months, 10 months, or what have you. So it's going to be interesting to see how this plays out.
Or will the force of his blandness, you know, just be the incentive that Voss and Fitzgerald, you know, that we need to deal with this guy because the public expects it. I mean, they just want us to. Might that be the case? I mean, certainly one of the big stories was was voter interest and turnout. It was huge. You were on a WBA panel, Lupita. Was it for governor or Senate?
It was for governor.
For governor.
Yeah.
And I mean, the Latino community was very engaged in this election.
Totally. I guess it makes a huge difference and impact in, compared to previous elections. Yeah. And I guess the Latino community was ready to participate and to show that they can really make an impact and a change in our elections. And I guess they're ready for tomorrow's sort-in for Tony Evers.
Sure. And
ready to continue asking for what he promised, giving back the driver's license for the immigrant community, yep, as well as an in-state tuition for students that wanted to go to do UW. So
we just have 1 minute left, and I can't end the show, Scott, maybe because it's 2019, without bringing up redistricting. This is our last shot, before the next census. We've been writing about this a long time. Any hope?
Yeah, I think there's a lot of hope, actually. Even if the court case doesn't succeed, Tony Evers still has a mighty veto pen. I think that maybe not for this 2020 election, but after the census, I think Tony Evers is going to veto any of maps that, if they try to rig it to the nth degree again, he can veto it. And I think they'll pay attention to that, the Republicans will, because it could wind up, if the courts could be doing it if they don't go along with Evers on something like nonpartisan redistricting.
On that optimistic note, thank you, friends. Happy New Year.
Thank you.
We'll come back and wrap up For the Record right after this.
This is an exciting time in the energy industry.
The world is changing, and we want to work toward common goals.
Toward a cleaner energy future, driven by innovation, powered by working together.
By working with customers, we provide customers what they want.
MG&E is your community energy company for the future, powering our community, sharing your values, partnering to meet your needs. Visit energy2030together.com to create a more sustainable future together.
It's Empire Today's biggest sale, the 50-50-50 sale. 50% off carpet and flooring, 50% off padding and materials, and 50% off installation. That's right, half off your entire project. You can save thousands. Empire's 50-50-50 sale won't last long. Don't miss 50% off carpet and flooring, 50% off padding and materials, and 50% off installation.
800-588-2300 Empire.
Today.
Dirt's gonna fly in the Alliance Energy Center. The Monster Truck Nationals, January 25th and 26th at 7:30, and the 27th at 1 p.m. Let's get dirty, Madison. All new dirt course for the monsters, including 2018 winner War Wizard, plus insane action of freestyle motocross. Get free pit passes at Weaver Auto Parts for the pit party with racers, and go for a ride in a monster truck. Get tickets now. Details at monsternationals.com. Mountain Dew welcomes you to the Monster Truck Nationals, January 25th through the 27th.
Have a great night and do something good. I started saying it because I was just so tired of all the bad news in the world. People are out there doing great things. I've experienced it, and believe me, it can change your day. Tell us about the good you see. Go to Channel 3000 or post it using the hashtag #DoSomethingGood. I'll share your stories only on News 3. Our community is full of wonderful, giving people. Let's celebrate them together. Let's do something good.
My thanks to John and Lupita and Scott and to you for joining us. Happy New Year. See you next week on For the Record.